Halloween, everybody, and it's Louise right here from the Woodee, and I'm going to cook you up a really good pumpkin soup today. So we normally go out at 10:30, but it was ghoulish weather and blowing a hoolie here in Herefordshire at 10:30 this morning. So we do it at lunchtime, and we can eat this delicious pumpkin soup after for our lunch. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I shall be cooking for you today. So I don't know if you can see that, James. If I just bring that round. So this is our beautiful pumpkin soup and some delicious Alex Gooch bread. So let me just put this down over here. Right, and let's get to work. So we are going to be cooking a whole pumpkin today, and I'm going to be showing you how to turn that into a pumpkin soup. So of course the obvious thing that we need is a pumpkin. So this is about a small 2 kilo pumpkin, and so what we're doing is that we're going to, first of all, we're going to get some, let's have a look at this over here. We're going to get 2 sheets of long foil, and we'll wrap this in because we're going to try and protect that pumpkin just a little bit as we roast it. So today we're cooking on our 900 stainless steel mild steel fire pit. I'm just going to put it like that. Can you hear me? Excellent, wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pumpkin and I'm going to put it on here, and I'm just going to oil the skin a little bit. So not many ingredients today, so let's put that on one side. I'm just going to take a little brush, and I've got some olive oil in here, and I'm just going to brush the pumpkin with oil all the way round and give it a good old brush. Are you having a happy Halloween so far? Are you like us, just indoors, just so far carving pumpkins and having a good time? Wow, this is going to be a very hearty soup later on. So, there we have it. We've got our pumpkin, we've covered it in oil, and we're just going to bring this up like a lovely packet. Move it over this way just a little bit so it's even. Squeeze it in there a little bit. And because my fire is very hot, can't see what that's there. Because my fire is very hot, I'm going to put my gloves on to put my pumpkin in. So, just a second, I'm just going to move this here, and I'm going to spread that wood to start. So, let me get one of my tools, my handy slice. So you can see in here that I've got my fire here, and I've got a nice space here that I'm going to put our cauldron in a minute. So I'm going to bring this over slightly, bring this pumpkin I've made, and I'm just going to, on here, there's a little bed of embers, and I'm going to sit our pumpkin on top of there. So, as I said, you need some gloves if you're going to put your hands to the fire. You do not want to get burned. So, take your pumpkin, and you can see it's very windy today. I'm just going to pop him just in there, sitting right on top of the embers. Now, depending on the size of the pumpkin, you can expect this to cook for somewhere around about an hour. If you allow an hour, that would be perfect. If you're going to cook a mighty pumpkin or something bigger, then you're going to need a couple of hours to cook that. So if you're out and you've got your fire pit going, put it in as soon as you light the fire, because it'll start to get hot and it'll start to take the heat from the thick metal base of our fire pits. So let's have a look. What are we going to do now? While we've got that pumpkin cooking, I'm going to show you the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to take my cauldron here, look at that, with our 3 legs. So our Dutch ovens are amazing to cook on our fire, and we're going to cook just like a witch today in a cauldron. And I'm going to put this directly into the base. So I'm going to move that one to one side, and I'll show you what's in there in a minute. So I'm going to sit that, and as you can imagine, because our metal bases on these mild steel fire pits are 5mm thick, the heat radiating from this metal is great. So it's going to start warming that base straight away. So let's get a bit of oil in there, and you can use whatever oil you like. I just happen to have some olive oil here, so I'm going to give that a good douse. And because our fire pits are slightly dished, because I've got lots of things in here, this is slightly off centre, so everything's going to just move forward to one side, so be careful of that. So the front side of this is going to get hotter than the back. So what are we going to add into there? So I have pre-cut this because I wasn't sure about the rain today. So as this warms up, we're just going to add some onion and some carrot. So let's put that in to start with. Oops. So let's just add that. And I think what we're going to do is just move it slightly forward in. So let's get that into there now. So I might pull my chair just a little bit forward. And can you hear that above the wind? That's starting to sizzle really nicely in there. So what you want to do is leave this in for about 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how much you've put in and how small you've chopped them, just to soften them a little bit. So this is the basis of our soup. It's great to use up your pumpkins, and it's got that lovely texture in your mouth, but it doesn't taste of an awful lot of pumpkin. It's rather like courgette or, you know, any sort of squash. It's not hugely tasty on its own. So let's start to allow that to just to soften down a little bit, and let's see what else we're going to put in. So one of my favourites. So we're just going to put in some lazy garlic. If you want to use cloves of garlic, you can do. So a good old splash of that, probably about 2 teaspoons went into there, maybe a bit more. Put the lid on, and then we're going to allow that to soften and mix up too. What you're doing is you're keeping an eye on your pumpkin. This is going to be a long cook in here. So what you probably will do, if you're doing this yourself, which is what I've done this morning, is pop your pumpkin in and then go away and leave it and come back and do this bit later on. So this is starting to soften down now. So what else are we going to put in here to give it a little bit of a taste? Hear me with the wind. Smoked paprika. So what I'm going to do, take the lid off. And I'm going to give this a really good, I'm going to give it a really good amount of really nice smoky paprika into there. And again, we're going to mix it up. So that nice smoky flavour into our smoky soup. So I'm leaving the lid off during cooking this, but once you've got this, all the ingredients in here, you might have the lid. So you can see I've got my Blue Peter one here. So we're just going to allow that, and I'm going to add just a little bit of water for a little bit of steam in here to help that cook rather than any more oil. So that will help that. Just into there. So we're not going to wait an hour for our pumpkin because we have already had one in here for a while. So put that over to one side. And that nicely now is really bubbling. Can you see that, James? Right. Let's have a look. You rightly showed me my vegetable stock cube. So this will give it a little bit of flavour as well. So before we put the rest of the ingredients in, we always feel this bit is a bit like a witch. Let's have a just breaking it up, adding those spices into it. Look at that. Just want to say hubble bubble toil and trouble. Right. Mix that in. There's that little bit of water in there, so it's stopping it burning and sticking, but it's browning nicely. Getting a nice heat on that. If you want it really chunky, you can chunk up your current carrots and onions much thicker, but it's going to take longer to cook. So, but if you want to, you can always whiz it in the food presser beforehand, but I like it like this, nice and finely chopped, the onions and carrots chopped about the same. So with our pumpkin. So, what I might do is just put this down. By the way, have you seen my new mug? No, you haven't, because this is the very first time that I've shown you. These are brilliant campfire mugs. They are tin, and they are like a little mini fire pit. And later on, I'll tell you how you can get hold of one of these yourself. Right, let's put that there. And I'm going to get one of our bowls, because now, let's have a look. Ooh. Looks like toilet paper in the background, so let me just pick that up. Hang on. Just put that behind me, or sit on it. Right. I'll tell you about this one in a minute, but get our gloves on, because we're now going to, after about an hour that your pumpkin has been in, you're going to take it out very carefully, because it might be very, very soft. And you can see on there how soft and juicy that is. And I'm just going to move this back off here just a second. Got to really keep an eye on this that it doesn't burn. So while we're busy, I'm just going to add a little bit more water into that. And remember, every time you cook on a fire pit, it is different. So today we've got fierce wind, and so this is really burning through this wood and giving a really great heat. So what are we going to do with our pumpkin? So we are going to cut it in half. So let's see. And the best way to do this is straight through here. Or one each side even. Oh, and what you want with this is that it is soft to go through. So let's see, I'm going to cut round that lid bit. I've got it in here so that I can show you. Look at that. So I'm going to bring that over actually. So what you want, can you see that? Can you see that, James? Have I got that in camera shot there? That way? Right, so you can see that it's really soft in there, and that's how well it is cooked. So that's what you're looking for. So what we're going to do now is we are going to scrape out all these seeds that we don't want, and we're going to then use the flesh. So we're going to put this to one side, and we're going to take our pumpkin out. As I said, it is very, very soft. So if I do that on my lap, one at a time, and I can just show you. I'm just going to scrape the majority of the seeds out without too much trying to get. There you go. Okay. Doesn't matter if you get the odd seed in, but you don't want to lose too much of that lovely flesh. Put that in there. Actually, let's just, we don't want dirty. So, we're now going to take the flesh and we're going to put it into here. So then scrape the rest off it. And just, it should come away from the skin. If you get a little bit of skin in there, don't worry. So here we go, just scrape that off, it should come off in clumps. Can you see that on camera, James? There we have it. And it's really, it looks, when it comes off, shredded. It looks like shredded cabbage really, or let's have a look, get the other one out. Put it in here to start with, and again, we're going to take out those pumpkin seeds. Without trying to get rid of that delicious skin. So let's put it back in here. This is the messy part of it. Let's see. I'll move that now. Give this a quick stir so it's not burning. That's coming along nicely, and that's really softening now, so that's going to be perfectly ready. In a couple of minutes we've got our pumpkin. So can you see that? Can you see that, James? How that is really shredded. I'm going to just get as much of that off as we can. Just pull the skin off on the side, the messy bit. Sometimes it's just easier to pull it off the back. Don't burn your fingers, just peel it off. There we go. Fantastic. So, take that seed out. So there. A few more seeds, let's take those out. Use some of that kitchen roll that I'm sitting on. So now, let me show you. Can you see that? Can you see that? Perfect. So all that shredded deliciousness is now going to go into here. So we're going to get our glove. We're going to move this back into the flame, and then we're going to add this in. And then this is a really thick, delicious soup. Right, so there's a couple of bits of the skin on there. Now burning yourself. Right. That'll do. Now take your spoon and mix this in. So that's a nice solid thing now. So we're going to start adding a little bit of liquid. So we're going to add a tin of tomatoes. That's going to go into the top. Just tip it in. A good old dose of tomato puree. So let's put that in as well. Oh, I love a good bit of tomato puree. So this is really, as I said, the pumpkin doesn't have a huge amount of taste, so the tomato really brings that sweetness out. And we're going to mix that in. And then we're going to put enough water in it to cover it. So that's quite thick. Let's get our water in there. Lovely. So just break some of this out with your spoon, and then you can start to see if any of the pumpkin seeds are in there. You can just fish those out, or a little bit of ash has come in there. That's why it's so lovely. It's so smoky and lovely. So James, can you get a close-up on that so that we can see what that looks like? This is what it should look like as it's cooking. So I'm going to move that into there now. Actually, I'll turn it round. So this is the start of your pumpkin soup. And really now, we're just going to let this cook. So I'm going to put my other glove on, turn my pumpkin around so that he's getting a nice even heat, and put him that way. And then I'm going to look at the one that I did earlier. So, look at that one. So this one over here has been in here cooking probably for a good half an hour or more now since I put the pumpkin in. And look at that bubbling away. So can you see, all broken down and ready to go. So, I wanted to talk to you about, if I get rid of this out of the way, I went into Haymarket today and I picked up one of these. And so as well as pumpkin, you could use any squash in this recipe. And I really love this one. This one is a really, wow, gorgeous sort of glamorous squash. And this has got a lovely and bright yellow flesh inside this as well. So if you haven't been able to get hold of any pumpkins because all the supermarkets are now sold out, you get hold of something like this and do exactly the same thing with that lovely orange flesh. Right, so that's really bubbling around now. Can you see that? So I'm going to move that slightly out and around. I'm going to keep our eye on that. And then we're going to put the lid on. And we are going to leave our little cauldron now, just slightly here, out of the way. Our pumpkin is going. And I thought thought I'd show you, if you've got any mini Dutch ovens, a lovely way to serve this up. So let me get my, let's have a look, little tray, because this is hot. So in here, from earlier, I put, look at that, well, I'm dishing it up on Halloween, a lovely little cauldron full of pumpkin soup. So what we're going to do is that I'm just going to give a swirl of cream onto that. That was the wind. The swirl that, well, I don't know, it looks like a cool cream down there. And let me get my tray and I'll show you what it looks like. We'll take that. Let's have some of this delicious pumpkin soup. Let's have it on here, on our Woodee chopping board. So I'm not going to... That's hot. So, what a lovely way to serve it up. Let me taste it. A little bit of that cream in there. Oh, that's so good. That's really good. So I'm going to have it with some artisan bread from Alex Gooch the Baker. So let's just dip a little bit of that in. That is a real treat for Halloween. I hope that you've enjoyed this cookout. The recipe will be up later. And for your chance to win our very first ever Woodee camping mug, I would like you to share one of your Woodee Fire Pit photographs and with the hashtag WoodieLife on either Instagram or Facebook for Halloween. So if you've got a really great picture of you now for Halloween tonight, I'll be having a look tomorrow, and the best picture, I will send you one of these lovely Woodee mugs for next week. They will be coming onto our website in the next few days. Thank you so much. You can find our recipe on www.thewoodee.com, and we will be back next Saturday when I'll be showing you a delicious recipe